Welcome everyone to Excel in Access, and today's tutorial is going to be about Access, and it's pretty much creating queries in Access. And this is a beginner level. If you watched my previous video, I did talk about how you create tables and import data into Access, and today we're going to learn how to create queries when you already have existing data in table. Now, there are 5 different types of queries. But first, to create a query, let's go here. You would go to this button, Create, and here's your little Query tab. Now, you can have the Query Wizard create a query for you. That is the quickest and simplest form. But if you want more control over your queries, I would just do a simple query design. So I'm just going to hit Query. Once I hit that button, Query Design, it's going to bring me this little dialog box, and this is a list of tables that I can choose from to create my query. But not only can I choose from tables to create my query, I can choose from queries, or I can choose from both. So regardless, it just depends on where the data that you need is stored. A lot of people don't realize that you can query other queries, and sometimes that is probably the best way. That is probably the best way. Certain instances, the only way you can get the information or the data that you're looking for. So today I'm creating a query for tables. So let's say that I want to create a report that shows purchase orders by employees who created it, and maybe the supplier name, contact name, and number. So in order to pull that report, um, right here in my previous tutorial, I talked about tables and creating tables. I'm not going to go into detail, but here's where all the tables are stored, and here is also those same tables over here. So to get that information, I'm going to want to pull a couple tables. So the tables that I want are purchase order, and all you have to do is double click on it, and I think I want supplier as well. Suppliers, here we go, and I hit OK. Now this is what we call the little join bar, or what I call the little join bar. Now it automatically is going to join the tables for you, and joining the tables are pretty much just linking the two fields that have the commonality that allows you to pull the queries and pull the information. Now for here, my key is purchase order ID in the purchase order table, and supplier ID in the supplier table. But that is not the key that I want to use to create my join. So I could use that. It doesn't even hurt to keep it that way, but I am going to join my tables using supplier name. All right, and I am going to do a simple from the purchase order table is my main table, and the supplier table is, I guess you could say, a secondary table. So I'm doing a left join, and if you want to check your join properties, what you do is you click on the nice little bar, you right click, and you can hit join properties. Join properties pretty much brings you this dialog box that lists you the tables: the left table, which is purchase orders, and the supplier table, which is on the right. And then it tells you exactly what you're joining. So I'm joining these two tables. So these two tables have the same data information in there. Now there are 3 different types of ways I can join. I can join and only include rows where the joined fields, both tables, are equal. So pretty much when I run my query, if the data is in this table and the data is also in this table, then it's going to pull that information in my result table. Number 2 is if it includes all records from purchase orders and only those where they're equal. So if I was to click this, what it will do is it will pull all information from the purchase orders, all information, regardless of whether that data is in a supplier. And usually it usually just leaves a blank and just say, hey, this is blank. There's no supplier information. There's no data or information in supplier table for whatever was pulled here. And number 3 is just the opposite of this one. It's saying all supplier data will be pulled, but regardless of whether the purchase order information has the same information in there. But I want it where the rows are equal, and I'm going to hit OK. So here is my table. So let's see. I want to find purchase orders by employee, who created it, supplier name, contact name, and so forth. So, and I've joined by supplier name. So I think the first thing I want is supplier name. Now to get the fields down at the bottom here, you can double click it. That's just pretty much the simplest way of doing it. You can double click it, or you could just drag it down. I'm just going to double click. So I'm going to do a contact name as well. Let's see, what else do I want? Let's try purchase order number, order date, employee name. That's when I don't see that. I do see employee ID number. And you know what? I'm going to pull the employee ID because it might be later on in another query that I might actually need that information in case. So I'll pull that. I have the supplier name, contact name for supplier, and maybe phone number. This is just a demonstration, as I don't need all that. Now, I can also change the order of how I have the data and the information. The easiest way to do it is pretty much, let's say I want the purchase order to be the first information that I see. I can just highlight it and scroll it over. There you go. So I think the best way to do it is this purchase order number, order date, and then I want to know who the supplier is. Actually, I also want to know which employee created the purchase order. Then I want the supplier, the contact name of the supplier. I've got contact name suppliers twice, so I'm going to delete this. And then the phone number. So that's my report. Very simple, easy report. And then to run this report, you just go into this query type dialog box, actually results type dialog box, and just hit run. And then there's my information. Very simple query. Queries are much easier than you think to do. If you know what type of report you're looking for and you know which tables the reports are in, it's pretty simple to create a query. So that's a very simple, very basic query. Now, so let's say that you want to filter the query so that you can only see certain information. So let's first start. Let me create another query, another very simple query. Here's my tables. And really quick while I have this up, let's say you have a table and you want every single information that's on the table down here in your query list. Now let's say you had like a long list of data information and you just didn't want to go in double clicking every single field. This little star at the top allows you just to bring in every information into a table down into your table results. So I can just pull this down here and hit run, and here's all the fields and all the data in that table. So it's a pretty simple way to pull down all the information without having to double click. So here is my table, but I want to see everything. Well, not everything, just a few fields, just a couple. There you go. And I'm gonna run this. So there is my query. But let's say I want to filter the query. I actually just want to see certain transactions. I want to see transactions that say opening balance. So this is where you would filter it, and filter it by criteria. You can filter it by date, transaction date, ID number if you know what the ID number is, or the product number, or you only want product numbers within this range, or you only want dates in year 2005. However you want to filter this data, you can filter it in the criteria selection. So for this one, I want to just filter it by opening balance. And when you're doing text, it's important that the text be in quote. Now, I believe that in Access, if you just type in what you're trying to filter in and just hit enter, it automatically puts it in quotations for you. And it also do that for fields that are numbers. So it'll put the pound sign in, for you. But I just want to see this. transactions with the opening balance description. And once I put my criteria in, I hit run, it's only going to show me that info. So that's a really quick and easy way to filter information criteria. And I will do another video on different types of criterias you can apply to your queries. So I'm going to remove this because I want to see all information. Now that I've gotten my query, I want to be able to export this report so I can either put it in an email or share it with whoever I need to share it with. There are two ways. Now this is a very small report, so I can just click at the very top and highlight the entire report and simply just go in here and paste it, which I already did here, but I can do it here. And there's the report. And then of course I can format it the way it needs to be formatted and get a nice report. And formatting in Excel, if you can check out my other videos, I do give a nice tutorial on how to format data in Excel. So here's my info right here. Very simple. But let's say that you have large data. Let's say right now I only have 20 records. But there are instances, and most of you guys know, where you have 2 to 3 or 4 or 5,000 records, and pretty much highlighting is not possible because I think there is a limit of how much you could copy and paste. The simplest way to do this is just to export the data into a spreadsheet or text file or wherever you need to export. So you would go here at external data, and in the export box it gives you several options of how to export it. You can even export it in PDF if you need to, but I just want to export it to Excel. So I would just click on Excel, and then I would go ahead and browse, or just click on where I want it to be exported to. Okay, to that table. I want the formatting to stay the same. So the way it looks like right here, I want it to look like it in my spreadsheet. And I also, after finished exporting, I want to open the destination file. So the spreadsheet is going to open up for me. And I hit OK. And then here's my report. Quite simple. And this is truly the best way to export data when you have thousands of records and in your report. And then you can go ahead and format this, but I pretty much like it the way it is, and then you can email it or share it with whoever you need to. So very simple in how to create simple queries and export simple queries. Check out my next videos. I'll go a little bit more advanced in queries and filterings and criteria, a little bit more detail. So thank you for watching. Please subscribe and like so you don't miss out on any videos. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.